Well, it's Monday. The Sacred Water, Sacred Forest camp is over for the year. Just starting to head home. Got a long drive ahead of me here. But the last thing we did this morning was a couple of us went down to the wind turbine, wind energy generation facility in Spring Valley. About 62 turbines down there, 300 feet tall. And the very first turbine we walk up to, there's a dead hawk at the base of it, killed by the spinning blades. So, it's no joke that wind turbines are destroying the planet just like fossil fuels are. They just do it in a different way. The destruction happens in a different form than it does with fossil fuels. So the trip itself was a big success. Everyone had a great time. Saturday we spent a lot of time down at the Swamp Cedars in Spring Valley, which is a site where the Shoshone, Goshute, Niue people would gather historically, and in the winter they'd spend a lot of time there hanging out, getting together, different groups, family groups and bands, spending time together and reconnecting after spending most of the year out and about. And that was a site of massacre. It was a site where the U.S. military went in there and slaughtered 300 people. One of the bigger massacres in U.S. history of indigenous peoples. And so it's a very sad place. And it's a very sacred place. And it's threatened by the water grab. It's going to be one of the first places that is destroyed if they take the water away from that valley. So it's meaningful to spend time there. We went down and we walked around and visited some of the springs, this crystal clear, pure water bubbling up out of the ground, and wild irises growing everywhere, wildflowers, and beautiful junipers. And we did a workshop on listening to the land. We wrote poetry. We asked questions. We spent some time alone out on the land and had a good time that evening around the fire, sharing what we had heard, and I think that put us in the right mindset for the rest of the trip. So yesterday on Sunday we took off from Spring Valley, headed down south and drove into Cave Valley. We visited some of the test well sites that Southern Nevada Water Authority has drilled throughout these valleys down here to test out the water table and figure out how much they can steal. And we visited a big chained area where what's called chaining. It's part of the so-called Pinyon-Juniper restoration or treatment projects. They call them, very Orwellian sort of terms. Collateral damage. And chaining is a practice where they take a U.S. Navy battleship anchor chain and they string it between a couple of crawler tractors and they drive it across the landscape, and the chain just rips up everything in its path. So the area that we went is a couple thousand acres right along the route of the proposed water pipeline. They just massacred these trees. Horrible sight. I've been there before and it just rips your heart out every time you see it. I don't know how it's just shocking that so many mainstream environmental groups can get behind this practice and say this is a good thing to destroy these native forests, to go in there and poison them and chainsaw them and rip them down with these chains. It's insane. And that was a powerful experience. So we went back to camp last night, sat around the fire for quite a few hours. We had a barbecue and had some watermelon, some good food, and just sat around for hours talking about what we can do, strategy for how to stop this. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge figuring out how to fight it. And we've got some ideas. We definitely need help. We need support. We need people who are concerned about these trees, who want to fight. We need people to spread the word and put a lot of pressure on the mainstream environmental organizations to get their act together, and get their lawyers and their resources involved to try and change the BLM policy and Forest Service policy on these forests. Unfortunately, it's not a situation where there's many choke points that one can focus on in terms of direct action. So we talked a lot as well about next year, what we want to do out here for the trip. And it seemed like the consensus was we'd like to make it more of a training-focused trip. We're going to invite organizers and community members from across the region to come together out here and share the type of work that they're doing, share their skills, share their knowledge, and then do quite a few workshops to share skills with each other and trainings, with the goal of bringing people together around these issues and building some more unity and some more strength on the issues that we do overlap on. So it was a good weekend. We had a good time down here, a good group of people, really fantastic group of people, and always wonderful to be out in these places. It's such a mixture of feelings to be camping at the creek and seeing these beautiful butterflies flying around and the birds and pronghorn antelope and walking through the sage and up into the mountains, and it's beautiful, it's stunning, it's incredible. You cannot be here and not fall in love with this land if you have any sort of respect. And then that's contrasted with the destruction. Driving by the gold mines, the silver mines, driving by the clear cuts and the chained areas and the poisoned areas, looking at these test wells and contemplating the reality that Las Vegas and their developers and their greed and their lust for money and insatiable desire for growth, they just want to take all the water out of this place. And it would kill everything here. It would kill everything. There would be barely anything left. This place wouldn't be recognizable. And that's the path Nevada's on, with the overgrazing, with the overdrying of water, the aquifers, global warming. This place is really troubled. And that was one of the lessons that I was told when I asked the land on Saturday. When I asked the swamp seeders and the land, what do you need? The answer that I got was, you need to deal with these things. We're doing what we can here. The trees, the grasses, growing, fighting, struggling to survive. Fighting against all the insults that are levied against them by this culture. But we need your help. We need you to fight. We need you to dismantle these human creations, That was the big lesson. Humans created these things that are the main threats to this place, and humans can dismantle them. Humans need to dismantle them. And, one of our conclusions around the fire last night was, we're going to fight like hell to protect these forests. That the biggest thing that's going to protect them is when there's no more fossil fuels to run those chainsaws and those crawler tractors. It's the collapse of this entire industrial economy, this entire extractive system. That's what's going to stop the destruction of these forests. Most other things are just going to be a stopgap measure. So we got our work cut out for us, for sure. For sure. Big tree killing project here. We're between Ely and Eureka, headed up into the hills, and I wonder if that's one as well over there on the north side of the road. And that hill behind this, we'll be able to see it as soon as we come out from behind this little bluff right up there. That's all bare, but over here, that's definitely killed. Looks like maybe herbicide, because you got a ton of standing trees still. Right in through here as well, all the way across. Yeah, that's herbicide for sure. No sign of a burn. Those trees aren't charred at all. Those are sprayed. Wow. It's just horrific. They come out here and kill thousands and thousands and thousands of trees. And they just leave them there. Look at this. This whole basin's just been emptied all the way across. Across this first little ridge here. Down into the little valley here. Over the top here, we're about to come around. And we'll see the next little valley. This is Robinson Pass here, 7,600 feet. All the way through this little valley, over the next ridge here. Destroyed all the way through here. Wow. I mean, you can see on the other side of the road, we've got forest. That's more natural. I don't know if it's been thinned. I can't really see any trees that have been taken down over there. This is close enough to Eureka that for sure this was all cut in the mining days. This was stripped completely bare. There were no trees here whatsoever. And yet they've regrown over here pretty thick. We've got nice, thick, dense native forest. And then over on the left side of the road, it's all been taken out all the way through here. Just want to make a quick video here about roadkill. I am driving from Nevada back to Oregon. It's about a 1,400 mile round trip, something like that. And I think I've hit 2 creatures on this trip, a prairie dog on my way out, and I just hit a snake here a minute ago in the middle of the road. I was passing somebody and just, I was paying attention to the pass and not watching the road as closely as I usually am, because I've managed to avoid a lot of other snakes so far on this trip, and damn, I'm really sad about that. It's horrible when you hit something, and it's also just, it's part of car culture, and a lot of people will say, the solution is to stop driving as an individual, but I don't think that's true. I think that will ease your conscience, but the reality is, unless car culture as a whole is brought to a stop, and the fossil fuel system, and by extension the electric car system, is brought completely to a halt and dismantled, and the system of highways is dismantled, then the problem is still going to exist on a huge scale. I wrote recently for the rough draft of the Bright Green Lies book about roadkill and how huge of a problem it is globally, billions and billions of creatures. And I wrote about insects too, and the number of insects killed by cars is in the trillions every year. Many, many trillions. And, just look at my windshield here. I cleaned it at the last gas station. That was maybe 250 miles ago. And it's just covered in splatters, and it's pretty horrible. It definitely doesn't feel good to be driving and seeing that and be responsible for that. But at the same time, I was born into this car culture. I didn't make the choices that led to the creation of this. It's not my responsibility that we're in this situation. And, if I do have a responsibility, if we all do have responsibilities, it's to dismantle that car culture, this destructive culture, and get rid of it and replace it with a better way of life. Well, I just stopped for a minute here. I'm back on the road, but this amazing sunset started coming up. So a few miles back is a little place called Picture Rock Pass. Never stopped there before, but I've driven through it, and I had to pull off and jog up the hillside up this gorgeous talus slope of basalt. All these wildflowers in there to take a few pictures of this gorgeous, gorgeous sunset out here. Fitting into a beautiful, beautiful trip. And just wanted to share that with y'all.